Hello YouTubers and TikTokers alike, I am Kyle and this is my review of Avengers Endgame.
God, seems like 1,000 years ago. I fought my way out of that cave, became Iron Man. Realized I loved you. I know I said no more surprises, but I was really hoping to pull off one last one.
Avengers Endgame is a 22nd film in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, and I gotta say, man, what a freaking ride. Just so everybody knows, there will be no spoilers in this video until this poster turns to black and white. So if the poster is black and white, we are talking about spoilers. So if you've not seen this film, get as far away from this video as possible when I tell you I'm gonna give you plenty of time and when the poster is black and white. All right, we clear? Cool. So much of this film was so satisfying in so many different ways. There was a lot of things I did not expect to happen. There are things that I really wanted to have happen for a very long time, and seeing this come to life and the culmination of everything that has been building up to this moment is such a wonderful feeling. I've been waiting for this film for a very long time, and ever since, they confirmed that Infinity War Part 1 and Part 2 was going to happen, and then the name got changed, and then there was the whole it's just Avengers 4, it's untitled, and it was such a crazy ride to get to this point through every single film, the TV shows, everything that we had as content with this. It was so awesome to see this entire universe culminate into one film. And I have to say that this film is absolutely stunning. I would even say that if you're not a Marvel fan, that you could probably enjoy this film, but you're probably going to be pretty lost. I have been waiting for this film since the first Avengers dropped. Seeing Thanos turn around and grin, it was just like, man, is this really something that they're going to be able to achieve? Like, the Infinity Gauntlet series is such an ambitious series, and it's so crazy the things that happen. And obviously they can't do everything that the comics did due to the Fox ownership rights and everything that came with that. But I gotta tell you, they worked with what they had, and I am so happy that they did. They created an entire universe for us to be able to enjoy and to see these characters come to life. First and foremost, Robert Downey Jr. did a fantastic job as Iron Man. From the very first Iron Man, I went with a group of my friends in 2008 and saw this film, and I was so happy. I wasn't even really sure how it was all going to turn out, and seeing the sequels and then, the end credit scene with seeing Thor's hammer and Phil Coulson saying, sir, we found him, and all of this being pieced together, and it all led to this, Infinity War and Endgame. And I've got to say, God, they did such an amazing job. Now, what I will say about this film is I heard a lot of people say that they cried. And while I did, my crying was more out of sheer excitement. I physically was jumping up and down, and I was running through the back of the theater. And the only reason that happened was because our theater actually had a problem with the film. It actually glitched out and they had to fix it. So we had a good half hour, 45 minutes that we couldn't do anything. And for anybody that's watching that was at the theater, just know my wife is expecting. That's a little inside joke for everybody that saw the film while I was there. I actually saw somebody there that was filming, well, this is what's going on. And then I was telling them, hey, I'm going to post this review. So it was really kind of a cool moment. And once they finally fixed the movie, we got to the point of the film again, because we didn't watch it from the beginning, but they got it as close to the part that it glitched out on, and our theater applauded once the film got past that. That's something that only our theater can share, that group of people, and that was really cool to have that experience. Did it suck? Absolutely. We had to sit around and wait for this film to get fixed, for us to be able to view it, because I was not about to walk out of that theater without finding out what happened, because we were a good an hour and a half, 2 hours into this film, and I was just waiting for the next thing to happen. Regardless of my rough experience in the theater, this movie did such a great job with closing out every single character arc that we have. Whether that's a good thing or a bad thing, they did a wonderful job. And I would actually argue that all of them were good things. Not going to get into any spoilers yet, but I would say that everybody got their moment to shine in this film, and it was such a beautiful thing. The Russo brothers have done such a great job of juggling these characters. They learned how to do that in Civil War. You know, they established that they could make a great Marvel film with Winter Soldier, which I would still say is one of my favorite Marvel films. And then they moved on to Civil War and did something absolutely ridiculous. They were able to balance all of these characters, I would say even better than what Joss Whedon did, because in my opinion, I don't think Joss Whedon could have made this movie. This is something that had to be tag teamed and had to be organized and had to be done. So I am just perplexed by everything that they did with this film. I loved it. I absolutely loved it. Like I said, I was jumping up and down, screaming. I was crying. I was just shouting yes. I was like, this is amazing. It's so cool. So I think it's clearly evident that I enjoyed the film, and I really can't talk more about it. So I'm going to go ahead and move into spoiler territory right now. And if you have not seen the film, please get out of here. Go see the film. Avoid all spoilers on social media. If you have seen the film, don't spoil this for anybody. This is something very, very dear to our hearts, and characters that we absolutely love and just that we want to experience for the first time without some asshat ruining it for us. So don't ruin it for anybody. So with that being said, we're moving into spoilers. Changing this into black and white, everybody. It's spoiler time. Get out of here. All right, I've given you enough time, so now let's go into spoilers. Holy freaking crap. Thanos gets killed at the beginning of the movie. That was something I did not think that they were gonna do. I had some suspicions, but I didn't think they had the balls to do it. And like, especially about the fact that the first thing that Thor does is cut off the gauntlet from his hand. Just like, and especially how that was taken into, you know, consideration for that little foreshadowing we got in Infinity War, when Wong closed the portal and you saw his name is leaving me, I'm excited, but when one of Thanos' children reached through one of the portals and you saw his hand get cut off, and it was his left hand. I'm like, they've got to be doing something close to this. And when it came to Infinity War, you know, it's like, man, like they actually did the snap. So it's like, what kind of ballsy moves are they going to make for Endgame? We had no idea where it was going to go. So Thanos gets killed at the beginning of the movie, and the Infinity Stones are destroyed, and they have to move on. Like, if 5 years later, we got that 5 years later timestamp, and our theater gasped. We were like, what? So we flash forward, and everybody is trying to continue with their lives. They're trying to continue doing Avengers things. Black Widow's trying to keep order with, you know, some of the illegal activities that are going on. She's got holograms all around her talking to Captain Marvel and talking to Rhodey and talking to Nebula and Rocket. I love the fact that Rocket got to interact with the Avengers and work with them. That was so cool. Even characters in this film that I thought that I wouldn't enjoy, Captain Marvel being one of them, because I was not a fan of her film. Seeing her show up to save Tony and Nebula was ridiculously cool, because I thought that Tony was dead at the beginning of the film, and I was like, oh my god, no, they can't kill him. Like, I mean, this is ridiculous. And thankfully he opened his eyes, and I was like, all right, we're good to go. And Captain Marvel saved them and flew their ship back to Earth. Props to you, girl. And the thing is about this too is that I'm probably going to hit a lot of points here and kind of be discombobulated, because there was so much that happened in this film. It is no joke. This film is 3 hours long. And even with our glitch that we had happen in the theater, I still didn't go to the bathroom. So, man, I didn't need to, but this is a huge film and there's so much that's happening. So I'm going to do my best to make sure I keep myself in line here as I continue and it gets more nuts. We saw time travel done in this film in a way that has never really been done before, to my understanding, because it wasn't the idea of that when you go back in time, that if you change something in the past, that it updates in the future. It's like, no, when you go back in time in the quantum realm, you're in a different reality of your own reality. And that little conversation that War Machine and Professor Hulk have, you know, where they're just like, you know, like where he's like, all we got to do is just obey the rules of time travel. And Professor Hulk looks at him and goes, you're just obeying things you've learned in movies. Like, that's not how time travel works. And I love that, because this could have been very convoluted and very, very confusing had they messed something up in the timeline with that whole butterfly effect kind of mentality. So to see how time travel was handled in this film was very, very awesome. Speaking of Professor Hulk, holy crap did he look fantastic. And they introduced him in a way that was so wonderful, where they, the Avengers, 5 years later, Ant-Man gets shot out of the quantum realm due to a rat. Thank you, the rat walked over that little system, that controlled the device in the van, and he gets shot out, and he's talking to the Avengers and says, look, there may be a possibility that we can correct all of this. And when Stark won't help them, they go ahead and find Professor Hulk, and he's so cool. It was so awesome to see Mark Ruffalo's mannerisms in such a different way, because it's always been Mark Ruffalo as the Hulk because they motion capture him, but to see him be a larger green version of himself was so well done. It makes up for the crappy CGI they had at the end of Infinity War where he was in the Hulkbuster, because that was definitely a miss. But I'd much rather see a miss on that aspect and have their money go towards Thanos and Professor Hulk. So that was awesome. And can we talk for a second about the fact that Thor turned into a washed up PTSD basket case? I loved it. I thought it was such a ballsy move. And, think about this, like, had he gone for the head, none of this would have happened. And he carries a lot of guilt with that. And, it was awesome to see him hanging out in New Asgard, with Korg and with Meek. It was so cool to see that. And even though they used beer to get him to go to the Avengers facility and, have this conversation about, can we collect these stones? Do we know where they're all at? That was such an awesome thing. And it got, I will say, this film was very, very slow with that entire, thing, because, yeah, sure, the beginning when they go after Thanos was, super intense, but after that, it kind of just went down and just became this slow burn of a film. And it was, a part of me was kind of like, man, I don't know if I like this, but in the same hand, I do, because I care about these characters. But I came here to see an Avengers film, and I want to see this film go nuts. Continuing on, we have Stark, who runs some tests at home, and he figures out the proper equation of how they can go through the quantum realm, and that's what starts the entire plan of why they went and got Thor, and everything works out super well, and it was so cool to see that. Even further, we have, Cap using Thor's hammer in a battle. That was ridiculous. I literally lost my mind in that entire sequence when he caught his hammer when Thanos was about to take out Thor, and he just annihilated him, at least for the time being. There was a lot of fan service in this film, as far as Captain America picking up Thor's hammer and, getting to finally hear the words Avengers Assemble. That entire sequence when Cap heard in the middle of their battle with the three of them against Thanos, and you hear Sam talking to him on the intercom, and all of the Doctor Strange portals opened up, and every single hero came in that moment and stood in that line of defense, and they're like, we are gonna win. We're going to win. We are gonna come back from that sucker punch in the gut and balls that we got from Infinity War, which is our closest thing we're gonna get to Empire Strikes Back in this saga. It was just, oh my God, it was so amazing. Our theater went quiet at that moment when he yelled out Avengers and then quietly said Assemble. Yeah, and like I said, even though I wasn't a big fan of Captain Marvel, she showed up in that battle and took out Thanos' ship in 4 hits and just took it down. Ha ha! Now we're getting to the main thing of this film, and that is when Doctor Strange looked at Tony and basically signified to him that this is the one that we're gonna win. This is it. And he stole the stones from Thanos, put him onto his suit, and looked at him and said, I am Iron Man, and snapped his fingers. And he saved the day. He saved everybody. And that was so amazing, because Hulk had used the stones earlier in the movie to bring everybody back, and that's why everybody was able to come through the portals. And Hulk was injured from that, his arm is in a sling for the rest of the movie because of that. And Tony couldn't survive the snap, but he did it because he knew for a fact he was the only one at that moment that could do it. because it was either Thanos snapped or he snapped, and he was not about to let that happen again. For Pepper to look at him and say, it's okay, we're safe now, you can rest. And he did, because that's all that Tony ever wanted, was just for, you know, everyone to be safe. He struggled with that so much, and it's why Ultron was created. It's why he did everything he did in Iron Man. It's why he made every decision. This is the best ending to any film I think I've ever seen as a part of a saga of films. It beats out everything. And the ending that they gave Captain America when he returned the stones and he used it to his advantage to go have a life with Peggy. Me and my wife talked about it a lot, and I was convinced he was going to die. But she said, she's like, I really think that he's going to get put back into the past and have his dance with Peggy that he promised that he would have with her. And he got that and more. He had a life with her. And he passes the shield over to Sam. And I think that was a great choice, because people may be thinking that Bucky was more deserving of that, but I genuinely believe Sam is the right one, because Bucky is still technically still has the ability to be controlled by Hydra. And this allows them to have somebody that is going to be loyal to the call no matter what happens. And I think Bucky knew that, and I know for a fact that Captain America knew that. But getting to see Cap as an old man and just be like, I lived my life. You know, we won and I lived my life. There's not going to be any other experience like this film ever. And I genuinely almost wanted to end here. I don't want to see anything else. Doesn't mean I'm not going to go see Spider-Man Far From Home, because I'm a big Spider-Man fan, as if you can't tell. But they ended it perfect. I don't even care that there wasn't an end credit scene. I am very happy with how they ended this film. But that's what stuck out to me. I know I probably missed a lot, and there's a lot to cover in this film on my thoughts, but that's what stuck out to me, and that's why this film was amazing. This film meant so much to me, and I am so happy I got to see it a day early, even though our theater had some glitch issues. It made everything worth it. All right, guys, well, this has been my review of Avengers Endgame. What did you think about it? Comment below, and try to keep the spoilers to a minimum, just in case if somebody came here for the first half of the video where there's no spoilers. If you guys like this and you want to see more reviews on the channel, go ahead and drop a comment below, like, and subscribe, and hit that notification bell. That way you never miss an upload. Thanks for joining me on this, guys. Thank you, everybody, for watching, and remember, I love you 3000.